Hey guys, it's Lisa and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be working on a vignette in my store that needs some serious attention, and we're going to start with these canisters. And as you can see, the large one has some damage on the top, so I was able to buy it at a really good price, and I'm going to be painting some texture on this, so it's going to hide it really well. And I'm going to start out here by making a label for the front out of these molds. And this is just a fondant mold that I picked up off Amazon. But you can use those molds also with the clay. So I'm just using my clay here and making a label for each of these. And I don't really want to label these anything, so I'll probably just do some kind of script stamp on it. But I just feel like this adds some character to these, so that's why I chose to put these on. And I'm just going to glue them on while they're wet. And that's been working well for me. And then a few of my viewers said that you can paint over that before it even dries, and that just slows down the drying process, which also makes it less likely to crack. And I think they may be right. It seems like they do really well. So I just put this on here and I let it dry about an hour, and then I go ahead and paint it, and it does work out really well. And now I'm mixing up some textured paint, and I do that just by adding a little baking soda in with my paint. You can mix it up to half and half, but I'm doing a little less baking soda here. But so when I paint this on, the first coat, I'm just going to paint it straight on, just however I can get a coat on. But then for the second coat, I'm going to, instead of using strokes, I'm going to be dabbing it on because I want more texture here. So it just helps me create more texture. Now, Dixie Belle has a product that you can add to paint to add texture. And I guess the good thing about it is it makes your paint dry even harder. So it works well for texture, but it also hardens your paint more. I do like that about it, but I'm just using regular baking soda here because I don't need it to be extra hard. It works really well just with the baking soda, and I know that most of you have baking soda on hand, and a lot of you won't have the Dixie Belle product. So like I said, I'm just going to get one coat on here and just get it covered first. And then when that dries, then I'll start to dab the texture on. And it helps if you have a lazy Susan on projects like this, because it's just easier to get around to all your sides. But this one actually broke today, and I had never seen one do that, but it looked like BBs came out of it. So I guess somehow they're put together with these BBs, and there was like 8 or 10 little BB-like things that came out of it. So like I said, I just dab this texture on, and just 2 coats work really well when I dab that second coat. And so I'll go ahead and paint all these and the lids, and then I let them dry. And I forgot to mention that before I did any painting on these, because they're a slicker glass, I did take them outside and spray them with clear coat, and that just helps your paint stick better. And once I get 2 coats on these and let that dry well, then I'm going to be adding a white wax to them. And I could have put a clear wax on them, or I could have even just did another clear coat on them. But I like the dimension and color that the white wax gives this, so I went over it with a wax. And now I did rub that wax off really well from the labels, because once that dries, here I'm putting a stamp on it. And I'm just using some of my larger stamps These are from the set that I use all the time, called I See Paris. It's an IOD stamp set. Actually, it's a redesigned stamp set. But I just taped off what I didn't want on there, and then I inked it up and took the tape off, and then was able to just stamp just a partial stamp on each of these. And I don't even know what they say, and I'm not labeling these as what's going to be inside them. I just kind of added those labels as something to just add more character to the piece. These are a set that I had in my store, and I painted these the aubergine color, and I've had them for a while, and they just haven't gotten any interest, so I'm also painting these the color buttercream, and one coat covers these well, and then I also give them a white wax, and it just leaves some subtle variation in the color, and I think they turned out really good. And now I think they're more neutral, and maybe they'll sell a lot better, but they're also going to fit better into the vignette that I'm doing. And I also had this silver plated tray that I've had painted in a cement finish for probably a good year, and again, it hasn't gotten any interest, so I'm just gonna, maybe the cement finish is just not, and now I sell the birds in the cement finish and some other animals, but I just haven't had much luck with other cement finish items. So this one also gets that same color and the white wax, and I really like the way that turned out, and I think that maybe now it'll be more neutral. I did paint the bottom of it also. Now I thrifted this candlestick, and I wish I could tell you what color that I'm putting on it, but I just mixed several of my colors that were just kind of left over, just a little bit in the bottom. And so I know this has some collard greens, some rebel yellow, some kudzu, and also some evergreen, I think. I think that's the 4 colors that I used in here. But I just kind of mixed it until I got the shade of green that I wanted. And then I just paint a couple of coats on this little thrifted candlestick. And once that's covered well, I went back and used white wax on that one also. And then I decided to paint a couple little birds with the colors that I needed for this vignette. And these are the ones that I buy for $1 at the Dollar General, and I just sprayed the top of them with some clear coat because the bottom is cement, but the top has more of a slicker finish, so I just kind of clear coated the top so that the paint would stick better. And I'm painting that same green that I mixed up here, and now this color is amethyst, and it's a little brighter than I generally do, but I just decided I would try a bright colored one, and I used white wax on both of these and toned them down anyway. So I think that it fit well into the vignette. And if it ends up being too bright and maybe it just doesn't move because it's brighter than other people want, then I can always go over it with some darker wax and tone it down. So I wasn't too worried about that. And I said I used the same green on this bird, but I think this was a Waverly color, the color moss. I think I went a little darker on that one. And then for the next item, I got this little plaque from a friend. A friend of mine dropped some things off that she had started crafting and was just kind of clearing out. So it was already this color, and it already had this wax on it. So I like the finish. And now I'm just going to make it fit into my vignette. And I'm using some decoupage paper here. And I can't think of the name of this decoupage paper, but I will add that in the description later when I find out what the name of that is. But I'm just kind of just putting it right on the inside here. And I'm being very careful not to get my glue outside of that because I want to be able to press this down, and then when it dries, take an X-Acto knife and trim it off and not have it stick anywhere else except on that flat surface. So I just carefully put that on there, and then, like I said, I let it dry, and then I go over it, go around it with an X-Acto knife. This paper doesn't have the exact colors in my vignette, but it does have the black and off-white color, and it does have the green. So there's a little extra in it there that where I'm going to put it in my vignette, it's going to be on the wall higher up. So it's going to be close enough that it's going to still go well with the vignette. And I decided to make this a little towel rack or some sort of rack. So after I get this trimmed, then I'm going to be adding some wall hooks to this. So I just screw a couple of wall hooks on there, and it makes a good little towel rack. Or, like I said, a rack for just whatever you want to hang on it. And then thankfully there's already hangers on the back of this. So when I put these screws in here, I put a dab of Type Bond glue, and then I screwed these in place. And the Type Bond was just so that I make sure my screws get a little extra grip, because they're going to be short, because I don't want them coming through the back. So I just thought I needed a little extra security here. So once I get these screwed into place, then my screws were just kind of a silver color, so I needed them to blend better. And I go back and add some black paint over the top of them just to help them blend in. And then I decided that I needed that black to be around the edges to kind of make this piece look more cohesive. So I just take that same black and I put one coat just around the outer edge of this. And I'm just really careful I could have taped it off, but I'm most often I don't tape anything off. I just try to freehand it. So I just kind of took my time and painted just around the outside rim and then down the sides of the outside. And that really brought this piece together. And but then I decided that I also wanted to add a little bit of white wax to kind of tone that black down a little, and it wouldn't be quite so sharp. And I think that helped a lot. But then I needed to do that same thing with these little hooks. So I just added the white wax to the outside and to the hooks, and then this piece was finished. I was just careful not to get it on my paper any more than I had to, and what I did get on, I just wiped off really well. And then that was all that this little piece needed. And I didn't get an after picture of this one, but I'll show it in my vignette in the end. And then I thrifted this little frame, and I just really like the shape of it. And I'm giving it a couple of coats of that green that I mixed up. And once that green dried well, then I do go back over this with some white wax. And I did a little extra rubbing on it because I wanted some of that antique gold to come through. And I was real happy with what I got in the end. And now I'm just taking the cardboard that was in this, and I'm decoupaging this napkin, just one layer of this napkin on the front of that. And I really like that lavender, so I just decoupage that on there, and once it dries, I just cut the remaining off around the edges, and then just put that in the frame. I really like these lavender napkins, and I got these at Marshall's, and I really used them a lot. And I decided here that I wanted to mimic those little bouquets, I guess, of lavender, and so I just cut some little sprigs off some lavender picks that I had, and then I just kind of put them in a little small bouquet, and then I tie some string around it, and it really ended up looking a lot like what was in that print. And I think it was just enough for this little piece, and I really like how it turned out. So I just hot glued that onto the front, and then it was finished. And now I'll just show you around the vignette that I finished up. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next. Have a great evening, and God bless you and your family.